Admiral Kethvos of the Hegemony's Third Conquest Fleet watched the blue-green world rotate slowly on his view screen, its single moon hanging like a pale sentinel in the void. The planet's electromagnetic signature was almost laughably primitive. Radio, waves, basic digital communications, and what appeared to be nuclear fission reactors. The intelligence reports had been correct. This was barely a Type 0 civilization. "Deployment status, Commander Rix?" Kethvos asked, his forearms folded, behind his back in the traditional pose of hegemony superiority. "All 600 vessels in position, Admiral. The primitive world is completely surrounded. Their largest military installations have been catalogued. This will be over within the solar hour." Commander Rix's mandibles clicked with satisfaction as she reviewed the tactical display. The Hegemony had conquered 47 star systems using this exact formation. Complete orbital superiority, followed by systematic destruction of military assets, then a demand for unconditional surrender. No species had ever refused. Why would they? The alternative was planetary sterilization. "Begin scanning for their governing centers," Kethvos ordered. "We'll need to know where to deliver the terms of surrender." "Admiral," the communications officer interrupted, his voice trembling slightly. "We're receiving a transmission from the planet's surface. Audio, only primitive frequency. Put it through." A human voice, speaking in what their translation matrix identified as English, filled the bridge. "Unknown vessels, you have entered Earth space without authorization. You have 30 minutes to withdraw beyond the heliopause, or we will consider this an act of war. This is your only warning." The bridge fell silent for a moment before erupting in what passed for hegemony laughter, a series of clicking and chittering sounds. "Did they just—" Commander Rix began. "Threaten us?" "Yes." Kethvos found himself genuinely amused. "Respond, with Standard Conquest Protocol 7. Inform them that resistance is futile, and that we will begin bombardment of their military installations in precisely 1 of their hours, unless they surrender unconditionally." 28 minutes later, the human response came back. "So be it." At exactly 30 minutes, Admiral Kethvos gave the order to begin the bombardment. The Hegemony fleet had perfected the art of planetary conquest, precise strikes designed to cripple but not destroy, leaving the infrastructure intact for later exploitation. The first wave of plasma torpedoes screamed toward Earth's surface. They never arrived. Instead, pillars of coherent light erupted from seemingly empty space around the planet. The humans called them particle beam weapons, though the Hegemony had never seen anything quite like them. The beams moved at light speed, striking with surgical precision. In the span of 30 seconds, the Hegemony lost 47 ships. "Evasive maneuvers," Kethvos roared. "All vessels, pattern Omega-7. But the beams followed them. Worse, they seemed to anticipate their movements. Ships that had barely begun evasive maneuvers found themselves cut in half by weapons that shouldn't have been able to track so accurately. "Admiral," the sensor operator's voice cracked with panic. "I'm reading massive energy signatures throughout the system. They have installations we never detected on asteroids, on their moon, even in orbit around their star." Kethvos stared at the tactical display in growing horror. Red dots appeared everywhere, hundreds of them. How had their scouts missed this? How had a primitive Type 0 civilization managed to hide such massive installations? "Sir?" "Communications," called out. "The humans are transmitting again." "Put it through." A different voice this time, older, calmer. "You seem surprised. Did you think we'd make it easy for you? Humanity has been preparing for this day since we first looked up at the stars and wondered what else was out there. We've had defensive installations throughout our solar system for over 50 years. We've been waiting." Another wave of particle beams lanced out. The Hegemony's shields, designed to withstand the plasma weapons of their own technology level, proved utterly inadequate. The human weapons cut through them like paper. "How is this possible?" Commander Rix whispered. The human voice continued. "You see, when you're a young species surrounded by an unknown universe, you don't get to be overconfident. You don't get to assume you're the apex predator. You prepare for the worst and hope for the best. We've been watching your expansion for decades through our deep space monitoring stations. We know about your 47 conquered worlds. We know about your hegemony. And we know you picked the wrong species to underestimate. The tactical display showed hegemony ships dying by the dozens. Their return fire seemed to have no effect on the human installations, which appeared to be heavily shielded and deeply embedded in solid rock. "Admiral," the navigation officer called out desperately. "They've activated some kind of interdiction field. We can't jump to hyperspace." Keth Voss felt his blood run cold, trapped in a star system with an enemy that had been preparing for this exact scenario while the hegemony had grown fat and complacent on easy conquests. "Sir," communications reported, voice shaking, "the humans are hailing us again." "This is Admiral Sarah Chen of the Earth Defense Force," the new voice said, crisp and professional. "Admiral Keth Voss, I believe? We've been monitoring your communications. You have a choice. Surrender now, and your crews will be treated according to the Geneva Convention and interstellar law as we understand it, or continue fighting and be destroyed. Choose wisely. You have 2 minutes." Keth Voss looked around his bridge. Half his fleet was already space debris. His supposedly primitive enemy had turned his own tactics against him. Complete systematic destruction of military assets, followed by a demand for surrender. "Admiral?" Commander Rix asked quietly. The old warrior straightened his shoulders. Pride warred with pragmatism, but the tactical situation was undeniable. The humans had planned for this day while the hegemony had grown overconfident. They had turned their entire star system into a fortress, and the hegemony fleet was caught like insects in a web. "Signal all ships," Keth Voss said finally. "Stand down weapons. Transmit our surrender to the Earth Defense Force." As the particle beams ceased their devastating work, one thought echoed through the Admiral's mind. How many other primitive worlds in the galaxy were similarly prepared? How many other species had the hegemony underestimated? The humans had taught the hegemony a valuable lesson today, written in the wreckage of 600 ships and the blood of thousands of warriors. Sometimes the most dangerous enemy is the one who's been quietly preparing while you've been loudly conquering. Earth's guns had spoken, and the galaxy would never be the same.